on, just a project, and I felt like it's more mining than it is like just, I thought of an idea. It's just grinding out and really like pushing through to find like that piece of gold. Mostly like 9 out of 10 of my ideas are terrible.
Yeah.
That's the rule to live by.
Well, that's why you have 100 ideas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have 10 decent ones, and then from that you say what one is good, and then you take that one and you boil it down to 10 more ideas, and you just keep pushing until you find something really good.
Yeah. And then you become Chris Tomlin.
Yeah.
So like that's end goal, whatever.
End goals. I want to be me, man. I like me. I got a cool beard.
Yeah. Got a cool beard and just relaxing, man.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, guys, welcome back to episode 4 of The Vaughn Show with our guest, Mr. Caleb Broussard.
Yo, what's up?
Glad you're here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Guys, if you haven't yet, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, drop that 5-star rating or a 4-star if you don't think we're that great. Either way.
Don't do 3-star though.
No.
That's just low.
Yeah.
Do 4 or 5.
4 or 5. 3 and
or
down.
Or just to leave us.
Yeah, we're having problems. Otherwise, just subscribe and don't leave a rating. Like either way. But go ahead and hit that subscribe button, guys. Today we're going to be talking about creativity. I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah.
And so Caleb has a long history of creativity, and for those of you who know me and kind of how I was through school, that I'm a fairly creative person myself. So we'll get into this. Yeah, just before we started recording, Caleb was showing me some of his original stuff. He's, just tell him a little bit about kind of what you got going right now.
What I do? Well, okay, so I am a multimedia coordinator at a Central Baptist. So what that is I'll do a lot of video content, photography, social media stuff, and then just a lot of media production side of things. Right. But I also have a history of doing music as well. I used to lead worship and various ministries, and I'm getting my master's actually through Southern Seminary in worship leadership. So I do a lot of kind of music stuff on the side. One of my hobbies is songwriting, and so I guess that's what you're referring to. Is I'll show you some stuff I was working on. So yeah.
So what is kind of talking about the seminary stuff? What does a master's in worship look like?
So basically, it depends on where you go. There's so many places. At Southern Seminary in Louisville, Kentucky, they're really focusing on theology and doctrine, and then that's about half of my program is I'm taking theology and doctrine classes to really know the Bible better, and then the rest are just practical music classes, and then also just philosophy of worship and how music incorporates in the church and arts and everything. So yeah,
that's really cool, man. Kind of you've been creative your whole life,
yes,
since birth, right? Since before birth. That's just how you were designed, so kind of walk us through what that has looked like for you, your entire life of how has creativity blossomed in you, man.
I don't think I've told anyone this story. So I was 4, and I had just seen Star Wars.
4 years old.
Yes, 4 years old.
Yeah.
I had just seen Star Wars for the first time, and I was mind blown. I'd never seen anything a lightsaber. I'd never thought of anything creative like that. I'd never seen anything portrayed like that. Right. And I was I want to be a Jedi. And then my dad's you can't be a Jedi. It's not real.
Dad, I'm going to be a Jedi.
Yes. And then he goes, no, and then he told me about the film about it, about the filmmakers, about George Lucas and all that. And I guess, I found, the bonus features tape.
Yeah.
And I watched those I watched the bonus features more than I watched the actual film.
So the behind the scenes and how the film was made and all that stuff. That's cool, man.
That's all awesome. I watched. And this is hilarious. As a young kid, a lot of people my age don't remember 9/11.
Right.
I don't actually remember it happening. I remember seeing it on the news later.
Yeah.
Apparently I was in school. I don't remember that.
Well, we were like 4 or 5 years old.
But I remember I had a lightsaber in my bed every night because I thought Osama bin Laden was going to come.
Yes.
So I was ready to
And you were ready
defend.
to throw down with Osama bin Laden when he knocked on the Broussard's door.
Oh my goodness.
Without a doubt.
That was, I had a lightsaber in my bed. It was, I think it was like a green one.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Yes.
Master Jedi. You should have a green one. And that's hilarious, dude. Because Star Wars, you know, even though it came out in the 70s, like has had obviously such a big cultural impact. But to think that it had, and I know they didn't know it at the time because it was an indie movie when it came out, like the OG one, that it had such an impact on you and like in that kind of way.
Yeah, even so many years later, like, you know, I think I watched it like late 90s, early 2000s is when I was introduced to it.
Right.
And it's just insane that like a movie that almost like over 30 years old has had such a profound impact on people that many years later. I think that was really the beginning of my creative journey because I guess after that I was like, I just want to make movies.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, I want to make Star Wars movies. And then they're like, no, they're not going to make any more. And so I go, okay. And then I started thinking up all these other things.
Yeah.
They were terrible ideas. But people like actually were like supportive of that.
Yeah.
I remember I came up with this like superhero and like my grandma like sews and like made like she made me like Star Wars like Jedi robes, everything.
That's awesome.
Like they were cool. Like I think the level up is like buying the actual Jedi robes. Yeah.
Like you can go buy the actual robes, but Grandma made like a great close second.
Nana made the best one.
Yeah.
And so
thank you, Nana. Shout out Nana.
Yes. Whew. I don't think she listens to podcasts.
She's gonna listen to this one. Let me tell you, Nana's a subscriber. Nana, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts for me, okay?
Yeah. So I got into that and I really just started like exploring ideas. Yeah. And you know, I didn't put a limit on it and I just kept being creative. And I guess like you know, my dad's a worship pastor, so he leads worship at his church, and we grew up doing that. And most pastors' kids are like moving every like 2 or 3 years. My dad, he hasn't moved at all. Yeah. Like he's been at the same church for over 20 years.
You're definitely like an anomaly in a lot of ways in that.
I'm so odd. And I had a lot just kind of growing up. Like I have amazing parents. Like they were amazing then and they're amazing now.
Sure.
And even now I'm more appreciative of just who they are and what they did and the sacrifices they made and how they raised me and my brothers. Because I have a brother, 2 younger brothers, Andrew and Josiah, and my brother Andrew has autism. And just growing up with that, like you know, a person with special needs is so hard, so difficult. And you know, but through that, like, you know, my parents were still able to stay together and love each other and then love us and take care of me and my brother as well. Yeah. And it's really cool to see that. But then even that like fostered my own creativity in like just thinking of ideas, thinking of things. And so like music always was a part of like my childhood growing up. Right. But I didn't really like sing a lot. I didn't like to sing in front of people.
Wait, what kind of music did you intake at that age?
Oh, goodness.
Like when you're thinking like 8, 9, all the way up to like...
So my musical journey went from like... So anyone who was like a worship pastor or worship leader, like in the like before Spotify, all these labels would send out like CDs. Yeah. And so my dad would go through and listen to him, whatever ones he didn't like. Yeah, he would just hand them to me. Yeah. And all these kids ones, he'd hand me these like kids CDs. Yeah. Like it was not Kids Bop, it was like Kids Bop, but like a Jesus juke on it.
Like Jesus Kids Bop.
Yeah. And I thought it was awesome. Like, and then my parents got XM radio.
Oh. Revolutionized,
changed
everything.
My world,
changed the game.
Yeah, so I listened to Radio Disney as a kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So like my like go-tos were like I loved the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah,
you know, Jesse
who are
McCartney.
back, by the way.
They're back.
Love that.
Oh my gosh, I love them. And then One Republic, and And then, like, my dad was like, I like the 80s music, of course. A great selection. So then he would take me through the classics.
Sure.
And there was like this 2-year period of my life, kind of like I was about like 10 or 11. He would flip through the 70s, 80s stations. And I could tell you what song, what artist, a measure into the song.
Yeah.
Like 4 to 5 seconds in, I could tell you, this is Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer, or Jump by Van Halen.
Yeah.
I could tell you those, and those are like 2 really distinct songs.
Right.
But like I could tell you that, or if I couldn't tell you the actual song, I could tell you the artist. I could that's.
I know for a fact Guns N' Roses did this.
Yeah, those Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And then it's like I know that's Springsteen, and so
yeah.
I grew up around a lot of that, and then like all my friends are like listening to like Reliant K, and everyone who like grew up in church, like who's like 20s, is like, I listen to Reliant K and what's the other band, Switchfoot, and
everyone loved Switchfoot. All right.
Unpopular opinion, I was not a huge fan. I didn't listen to them. I liked Mental Lift. I liked some of their stuff that I heard,
like their mainstream stuff.
But yeah, I couldn't get into like everything, because honestly, a lot of the people who like listen to those songs weren't my friends. Like they were the people who were like picking on me, and I was like, I don't want to listen to y'all.
Yeah, and Switchfoot sucks because you like Switchfoot.
Yeah, yeah, that was my attitude.
Yeah.
And so I guess I like started really like. I got to this point. I was like about 11 or 12, and I would listen to like. I started listening to like One Republic, Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and then I started listening to rap. I got into like Eminem, Lil Wayne, everybody. I didn't get into T-Pain much. I do love auto-tune though. I think it's like done really well. I think my favorite like song that has auto-tune on it, Andy Grammer has a song. It's called Remind You, and he has it on there like, and it's
well, and you can do it right.
You can, yeah.
Anything you can do wrong, you can do correctly. Somehow, and that's
one
of those things.
I grew into that, and I really I never had a place of output.
Right.
And then
I had all this intake
of creativity
and
this
stuff.
And I had like a little bit of output. Like we do like school, like we do like little like summer musicals at church.
Sure.
And I would act in those, and I guess from like an early age, I got like a lead role at like 6.
Sure.
And they're like, and no one can act like in this thing. Like nobody's like, this isn't like
this isn't Broadway theater.
This is like hey, this 6-year-old can be in front of people,
and not
cry. This is
progress.
Our
lead. This is it.
Yeah, that was it. And like then I started like doing that a little more, and then like I just kind of was like, I don't know, I'd rather just do whatever. And so then I was kind of like I think everyone's like middle school years are like
they're terrible.
I was like weird kid.
Middle school is awful.
And so it was in that time I picked up playing guitar.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to play guitar. Because my favorite band was One Republic, and I wanted to play guitar.
Yeah. Wanted to play guitar like him.
Yes. And even though a lot of their stuff's like piano and cello driven, like I love everything they did.
Right.
And I guess like as I was going, like I started like playing guitar, just kind of on my own, playing guitar. And then like my 8th grade year, they did the musical Into the Woods. And,
great one, by the way.
Yeah, and
I have starred in that particular musical.
What role did you play?
I was Rapunzel's prince. I have the best song. My brother Matt Fort, who will be tagged in the status of whatever post this particular podcast gets on, so he'll listen to the whole thing. He and I did Agony, and it was probably the best rendition ever put to stage. So throwing that out there, there's a video of it out there somewhere on the internet.
Man, so I played the Mysterious Man.
Great choice.
They cut that from the movie.
I
was also Jack's understudy.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what understudy was until I got the role. And so like I did that and I loved it. And then I had this opportunity to take like a 2-week like film intensive.
Yeah.
And so I was like jazzed. Like this was
when was that?
I was like
how old were you then?
I was 12.
12 years old, you're doing a film intensive, a 2-week like...
It was like a 2-week crash course. Like you would make like, you take like a week's worth of stuff, and then like in that time you try and write a story, everything, and then hand it to the teacher. They would edit it, and then they rented out a movie theater for our school, and they played it for our whole school.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is it. This is so cool.
Yeah.
And so then, just kind of from there, like I was like hooked. I was like, this is so cool. I didn't like. I'm one of those people that's like, I don't want to jump in to do something unless I know I can do it and do like a killer job.
Yeah.
Like if I can't come in and just like
destroy
it, no one's gonna know I did it.
Right.
Like I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna practice it. You ain't gonna know that I've been doing it, working on it, practicing it, because I'm gonna be like, yeah, and you aren't gonna know that I'm working on film ideas and everything. So I waited so long. I didn't like do a bunch of stuff as a kid with it. I let my other friend kind of do stuff, and I'd be in his videos, and I'd come up with ideas.
And you get to learn from it.
And I watched him develop into this really talented videographer and filmmaker, and he's really good. And so then I really creatively I didn't have a film outlet in high school.
Yeah.
So my outlet for creativity was I led worship at my youth group, and then at my high school we had a chapel, and so I would do that kind of here and there, and then I would act in the school plays,
right,
and attempt to songwrite, and they were all terrible. Everything.
You got to start somewhere though.
You do, and so I came up with all these ideas, and so creatively I would just progress through college, through high school and everything, and I really kind of came to the point I was I want to study media production. I want to study film.
Yeah.
You
kind of had an idea.
Yeah, I knew that from a young age, and I was but I don't want the isolated film school.
Right.
I want,
because then you're stuck.
Yeah, I want a normal undergrad with people who are different than me.
Yeah.
And so that led me to Arkansas State, where I
best college on the planet.
It's fantastic. And then I guess my creative outlet turned into being one of the naked guys. Ended up.
what an outlet for that. Yeah.
Oh man.
And anybody, only about half from what I've gathered of you that are listening to this at this particular moment actually are from this area. So those of you who don't know, the Arkansas State University, our football team, during our football games, at the front of our student section, we have an iconic group of young men named the Naked Guys, and they are shirtless the whole game with letters painted on their bodies. And it's just, they have a lot of fun. They kind of they're at the helm of the student section. So that's what that is anyway.
It's fantastic.
So that you became part of the Naked Guys in college.
I did. And then I got plugged in at church.
Yeah.
And started serving with the media team. And then I started serving with the music team, doing music as well, during college services. And then kind of near the end of that, they're like, hey, we have this opportunity for you to go do music at for our student ministry. And so then I was sure. And then they just kind of brought me in and was like, hey, we'd love for you to keep doing this. And so I kept doing that. I came on as an intern my second year of college doing music at the church. And then it kind of came to that summer I had to get my school internship.
Right.
And I was kind of in between do I want to do ministry and creative arts for the church, or do I want to kind of do my own brand? And then I started working at the church, everything with that. So it was kind of this kind of combating things inside. And then I decided hey, I need to do church ministry. I need to really kind of leverage my creative arts in the church.
Right.
And so that was kind of with that. So I served in their media department for that summer to kind of do my school internship. And then I ended up kind of leaving the media department after that summer, because it was a summer gig. Right. And then I went back to doing music and stuff with kids. And then that March, I came on staff.
Now, is this
doing the media.
This last March?
Yeah, March of 2018.
So last March.
Yeah. So I came on staff then, and I'd still had half a semester left of college.
Right.
And I came on and I finished that. But in college, I did some short films and stuff, and I got to work with Arkansas State's creative team and got to do some really cool stuff with that.
Which is awesome,
yeah.
by the way. Like, our creative team and our marketing team and that kind of thing there at Arkansas State's wonderful.
They're literally
got some
the best.
amazing stuff.
I learned so much just about media.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everything from them. Like, and then, like, I wouldn't be half the skilled creative I am.
Yeah.
If I didn't have my time there. So, yeah, that's
awesome.
really, like, kind of my creative journey with that. And so,
yeah. That's awesome, man. You know, and kind of getting to explore your creativity in so many different ways throughout, you know, your little over 20 years on the planet is something that not a lot of people choose to do. And you and I have talked about this a little bit, that creativity should be, anyway, involved in pretty much everybody's life at some level, because it's just so freeing, for one. It gives you an outlet for all of that stuff that can be built up, and there are so many different ways that you can express creativity. You know, you are fortunate enough to be able to do it through songwriting, through filmmaking, through a bunch of different paths, but it can be painting, drawing, coloring, singing, music, instruments, anything.
I've even found, like, running to be creative, or, like, working out, or do something physical, because it's almost like this, just like, you consume, I know for me anyways, it's this, like, I consume my day, and I'm just like, okay, this is so much going on, I just need to run.
Get out,
go run, and then, but every, like, half mile, I'm pulling out my inhaler as that I am.
you do what it takes.
Yeah.
You do what it takes.
It's this, like, grind to just, all right, I think it's like kind of a rhythm.
Yeah.
It's a rhythm of, like, take in, like, then
release.
You create.
Yeah.
Consume, create.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just that rhythm and that process of that creativity is kind of just fostered.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to go back to something that you said earlier, like the way that you said it. You at a young age, after you got to see Star Wars and you started to kind of foster that creativity a little bit. You said you started exploring ideas, and that phrasing to me is very important and very cool. Like, exploring ideas is a very particular word. So, like, you go through and you get to experience all these different things, and you're attempting all these different things, and when it works, it's awesome. When it don't, it doesn't, and that's okay. And so how important do you think that part of it is, as opposed to just, like, consuming content and only releasing it when you think it's good?
Yeah. I think exploring ideas is so important. It's like the idea of, like, exploring, it's developed so much for me over time. Like, when I was a kid exploring ideas, I was a kid sitting down just thinking of things and talking about it and just thinking about, like, what this could be, what it could be, like, and I came up with so many ideas, and
all just, like, while kicking rocks or whatever.
And so I was just so focused and laser focused into, like, okay, let's see what this could be. Let's see what this could be. And then as that developed over time, like, I didn't really bring those two things together until later on.
Right.
Honestly, more recently.
Yeah. Well, like, you didn't, especially at the young age anyway, didn't really know how.
Yeah. And so when I actually start trying to make things to share with people, I'm getting so attached to my ideas that I can't let them go. And I think when you explore an idea, you have to explore, like, really chill. And you learn how to do this a lot when you collaborate with people, because when you collaborate with people, you are, like, bringing your idea to people who have a different perspective than you.
Yeah.
And I think my best work comes when I collaborate with people. Yeah. When it comes to, like, a video or just anything in general, like anything I've worked on with other people, I'm, like, so proud of, and I'm like, this is so cool. I'm so excited that I got to help people with this. And it's also more fun because you get to, create something together with somebody. Yeah. And so you have that journey with people.
Right. And, we've both individually have had creative moments as individuals and in collaborative groups. And, obviously those two experiences are vastly different. You can be doing the same thing, quote unquote. Like, you can both times individually and as a group we'll use songwriting as an example, right?
Yeah.
So, in your experience, what how important is it, that collaborative effort? Like and what else does that bring to the table, and how does that help you develop your creativity and that kind of thing?
So, I mean, like collaborative, you get to like, it's like an automatic spell check per se.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that phrasing.
Because if I don't know, I feel like I'm very unqualified to talk about songwriting in this.
Well, I mean, we can use anything.
Yeah. So even like with like a video idea,
right?
Like, I could think, man, this is a cool direction to go in, to say something like this, or to shoot this kind of shot, and someone just kind of says, well, what about this?
Yeah.
And even the same in like kind of like creative like songwriting or per se, like, you know, like you could say something and they go, that sounded really weird. Why'd you say that? Or they're
very open with you. Yeah. Very honest with you.
And so like, but I found in creativity, like a lot of like some of the really cool collaborative projects I've gotten to do just in church with some people,
right.
Creating videos, you know, for the church service to kind of go into a song. And so I'm working a lot with our band guys and our worship leaders to kind of like, hey, how does this set up this really well?
Well, and I did want to talk about that bit of it too, because creativity often, and as it should be, is tied directly to some sort of like emotional response.
Yeah.
Right? So anytime you create something, it is going to, in one way or another, elicit an emotional response from somebody. So, for example, anytime, I was in band in school, so oftentimes our director, and anytime we'd go out into the marching field or whatever, and a lot of the folks that I was in band with do this now as they're going into their teaching roles and stuff like that. And it was a story that we heard where his director, my band director's director, would tell them, like, listen, your job is to pick one person in that audience and make them feel something when you play. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very interesting, like as a creative, like how do you bring that into you? Because you know that's going to happen. You know that what you're doing is going to elicit a certain response from somebody, mm-hmm. and that's on the forefront of your mind. So how do you like develop your project through that, and how does that come into play?
Yeah, I think of a really cool project I got to work on last August. We really trying to think which one. This one has probably a little more. Yeah. So we did 747. The college ministry at Central Baptist. We launched like on campus that night at A-State, and we did a video to go into a song, but the song was like a mashup of two songs.
Sure.
And the idea was wrapped around this verse in Isaiah 43, where it says, you know, hey, I'm doing something new. Do you not see? Like, forget the past. Like, God's going to do something new. Right. And the idea from that we wanted to take was like, hey guys, like this has been a really cool like 3 years, but this is next year. Like the best stuff is yet to come.
Coming, right.
And so we want to really create that atmosphere with that statement. And so, really like exploring the story of the cross and God's grace. Mm-hmm. We did a video that was like really dealing with like just, you know, God made everything right, and then sin entered the world, and then the ramifications of that. You know, like, yes, Jesus died on the cross, but I don't feel it. Like, I don't feel his love. I don't feel his grace. You know, kind of like just that emotional emptiness and
right.
the spiritual emptiness that comes. But then, you know, how God always comes, and he's you know, with open arms, and his love, and he's really just pursuing you, pursuing me, and he comes after us, and he's like, no, like, I've got you, you know, you're forgiven, you know, like just the promise of his love.
Right.
And it's so cool, because I think just for me, even in my own life, in different seasons of life, it's like I always need to pick myself up and say, hey, you gotta remember who you are.
Right.
And, you know, knowing that Jesus, you know, came to die for my sins and that he rose again, you know, has changed my life in every aspect. You know,
Sure.
I don't know where I'd be right now if I didn't know Christ and follow him and experience the love that he had for me, that he showed on the cross, paying for my sins. And I think of those things, what I'd do, what I'd be doing, and where I'd be in life. And, knowing that the best in my life is coming, because ultimately for Christians, we know that Jesus is going to come back. And that's our hope right there, that everything's going to be made right, that all the wrong in the world's going to be gone, that everything's going to be good.
I mean, that's the epitome for us.
Yes.
That.
Yeah. And it's inviting people into that. And so we wanted to do a song, like we wanted to bring in like just 2 songs that really kind of was like, hey, get ready. And we've seen God move before, and we believe he's going to do it again. Right. And we wanted to tie in that video with that message. And so we worked a lot on it to get it together. And I'll say this about like collaboration: you don't want to collaborate with 20 people, because you're never going to get anywhere.
You get lost.
You want to collaborate with like 2 to 3 people, maybe 4. I've hung out with people, and we've tried to like write a song. It was like 6 people, and we finished, but there were really only like 4 key contributors to that.
Well, and it tying that back into the collaboration thing and the emotion thing and the creative process, it's so personal, right? Every individual, when you're creating something, will have different emotions. They'll have different vibes going on in their head. They'll have different ideas. And when you have that many people having that many individual experiences, it is almost, not impossible, but almost impossible to get everybody on the same page. And if you do manage to get everybody on the same page, like you said, either we're going to have, not everybody's going to truly contribute. Somebody's ideas are going to get lost in the shuffle, or the end product isn't what everybody wants. And so no one's happy with it.
Yes. I agree. Like, I think it's so important to have like vision.
Yes.
Because
for sure.
In an initial idea to come together around, like, and I always want to have just a great like plan, but a lot of times our plans just kind of fall through the roof.
Right.
When we come through ideas, but like almost having like hey, let's try to do something for this, running with this idea, and then everybody's kind of, you want to sell people on that, you want to empower people and get people behind that, and give them vision for that if you want to bring a team on creatively. And I think that's so important, to have just a vision for where things are going to go.
Right.
Because, without like a plan, no one's going to get behind anything. It's like, all right, we're going to go to the beach. All right, what beach we're going to go to? I don't know. We're just going to drive and we're going to get there. That's not going to work. No. You're going to need to put out a map and plan it out.
Absolutely. And they say that, a hope without a plan is nothing but a wish.
Yeah.
And wishes are great, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Mm-hmm. So you're absolutely right. It's so important to have some kind of immediate vision. You know where point B is. Mm-hmm. Now, between point A and point B may get a little messy sometimes, but you know where point B is, and eventually you're going to get there.
Yes.
So that's so super, super important.
Oh yeah, creative, just being okay with someone saying no to something has been something really important to learn for me. Because a lot of times with like anybody working on anything, when someone says no, most of the time they're not saying no to you as a person. Yeah. They're saying no to your idea.
Yeah. Or even just a piece of the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I've really championed and I try to work on myself is whenever I have an idea, I don't just like call someone and tell them about my idea. Yeah. I beat up my idea. Yeah. I work and I take it and I'm just like, all right.
Tear it apart.
I tear it apart. I try it again. I tear it apart. I try it again until I get something that I think could work. So then I bring it to other people. Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh, you're fine.
And I let them do the exact same thing. Right. I let them tear it apart, put it back together, tear it down, put it back together. Because ultimately, like, when you get around people that you trust and who can help you and who want you to succeed, like, if you're working with people who really don't like you, then you're not going to really excel creatively because people aren't going to cheer you on and champion you. Mm-hmm. And you need that to be creative and to be successful as a creative. And I think, I don't know, my main reason for really diving in initially was I wanted to make people smile, and I wanted to make the world a better place, and I want to, help people in any way that I can, and I can't do math or science or anything.
So you had to find something, right?
I had to find something.
Not getting the Nobel.
I can keep people entertained and engaged.
Yeah.
And hopefully people are still listening and everything.
Oh, they are.
Sometimes I just ramble.
They are.
But I love podcasts and everything. So.
And that's, for me, ever since I got out of school and that kind of thing, I'm not in band anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I work all day, all that stuff. I think everybody needs some kind of creative outlet some way. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, but like for me, like this is it now, and there's not, and that kind of lends itself back to kind of what we were saying. It doesn't have to be putting, pencil on paper. It doesn't have to be, singing. It doesn't have to be something like that. It's just some way of getting ideas that are in your head out. And, for me, this is it. This process, getting to talk with a bunch of people, and just have a microphone present, basically, is all that's happening. And Spencer Bounds and I on the last episode kind of had a very similar conversation where this is my creative outlet. And I think it's so important for everyone to have one. And just like you said, it's on the front end. You have the idea, you tear it apart. You have the idea, you tear it apart. You have the idea, you destroy it as much as you can individually. And then when someone else does it, it doesn't hurt so bad because you've done it yourself. And you always take something from it, and eventually you get something out of it. So like we're 7 episodes in now, I guess, at this point, and I'm just having a blast, man. It's just fun, and it's so important. And my hope and wish is that everybody out there has something like that, just to have a good time with it. It doesn't have, again, work out or go running or start a podcast. It's free. Whatever.
I love that. I think one thing with creativity is finding a safe environment too. And
absolutely.
Don't be afraid to fall on your face, because it will happen in life in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Like you're gonna fall on your face, whether physically or figuratively. And
it's important to find the distinction. Like safe doesn't mean that you're not gonna fall on your face. It means you're not gonna die from it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I remember one time I fell on my face in a creative aspect. I was thinking man, what if I did comedy?
Yeah.
And I remember I started on Snapchat. Something would happen in my dorm.
Yeah.
And I would just go off on it.
Yeah.
And I would just tell these stories, and I would just elaborate on it, and not in a false way, but I would elaborate on it in a way that was just kind of making a comedic highlight out of something. And I would get responses from people of man, you're funny. And it was people that was really critical, and people who would and it was different demographics. I remember one of the guys at church, he stopped rehearsal, said, y'all need to get on Snapchat and just follow Caleb because he posts some funny stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, man.
I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
You just don't know it.
Yeah. And so I thought, man, I'm gonna do comedy. I'm gonna do a YouTube page.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do comedy. And I was like, I don't want to be, it's not stand-up comedy because I'm sitting down.
Yeah.
And so
sit down comedy.
Sit down comedy. Yeah. I'm really hoping somebody just clicks and laughs hysterically.
Yeah.
And if they're driving, I really hope they laugh hysterically, but don't lose control of their car.
Please don't lose control of your vehicle.
So I think that I only got 2 episodes in.
Yeah.
And it fell apart. It wasn't that I wasn't funny or I didn't have the ability to do it. I didn't have the time because my creative efforts were stretched.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't have time to edit this. I'm falling apart on people that could do this. Everyone's kind of busy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we're going to retire this. And so I slowly pulled back. Yeah. I shut down the accounts for the production idea. I was like, I'm not going to do anymore. I'm kind of retire this. This is not where I need to be creatively.
Right.
And I learned that really fast, that doing my own production company of hey, like, I'm going to be my own brand and produce stuff and be like, you know, trying to be like an indie film company. That's not me.
Right.
That is not me at all.
But you wouldn't have known if you didn't go.
I wouldn't have known if I didn't try to do comedy. I wouldn't have tried to make my own channel, tried to really drive my own content and everything. Now, do I think I could do it now? Yeah. Is that where I'm best creatively? Not at all.
Right.
So
that doesn't mean you're not going to try it again at some point.
Not at all. I mean, you don't know what the future holds. Like, you know, I think of things that, you know, I want to do, and I'm like, you know, a year ago, things I thought I was going to do, but not doing, you know.
It's interesting because on the last episode, we talked, when I was talking with Spencer, a very similar thing came up, and you guys go check that out, please, because it was a great conversation Spencer and I had. But basically, he also has at one point had himself spread so wide and so thin that something had to give.
Yeah.
And that's, again, not a terrible thing. It's just a matter of you have to find it out and become okay with that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even right now, like, there's times that, like, I go, okay, like, my creative energy is really put to my classwork.
Right.
And to my work. And so that's my creative energy right there. I can't let go of those two things. For obvious reasons. You don't let go of your job. that is not smart.
That pays the rent.
That is bad.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't stop paying bills.
And then don't let go, like, and I'm not letting go of my education because I really think that's where I need to be.
Right.
Now, for some people, that's not education. I have a friend who's a videographer up in Michigan, and he has a high school education, and he's a videographer, does pretty much the exact same thing that I do.
Right.
And he's great.
Killing it up there.
Killing it. And he never went to college.
Yeah.
And here I am, you know, I went to college, we're doing the exact same thing. Yeah. Now, I would not have been able to do what he did if I didn't go to college, because he was the guy who really just jumped out there and did something, even if it was going to be bad, not knowing if it was going to be good. I remember...
Made the splash one way or another.
I remember his first short film. I love going back to watch it. It's this, like, Lego stop-motion film.
I'm down for that. That sounds phenomenal. I don't even know what the topic is, but that sounds wonderful.
It literally was like a journey referencing all these movies.
I love it.
And it had...
You heard it here, folks. He had the Lego movie idea before anyone else. It was him.
It was him. Connor, you get the credit you deserve.
Yeah, you get the gold star, man.
And so I love, like, and I found, like, my more creative niche per se is being in a position that helps people, because the content I make, I want it to mean something. I remember the first, like, project I was asked to do. My aunt is a special ed director, and she, you know, works with educators, and she was like, hey, can you make, like, a short film about autism and your experiences with your brother to help us, like, with this and stuff. And so I made it at, like, 13. I called my buddy, and we, like, sat down, interviewed my whole family, and I learned how bad I was. But the content of it was, like, really honest and really raw.
Yeah.
Which is so, like, I think important. You can't lose, like, the rawness of it. Yeah. And so
I'm all about it. I'm an advocate for like, raw content.
And, you know, I'm in college working on stuff. And she's like, I still use it. You think you can make an updated one? And so I did. And it was more of a dramatic short film.
Yeah.
Kind of just my, like, story with my brother and a little bit of that. And so making stuff that helps people. And then what I do now creatively, like, all my creative energy is towards the church, really.
And again, that goes right back into your creative energy goes into helping people.
Yeah, because the church is there to help people, you know, in a very important sense, you know, like, Jesus came so we could have life.
Yeah.
And
your job now is to tell people that.
Yeah.
Is to figure out ways to tell people that.
And sometimes I'm, like, grinding really hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, I feel upset because something didn't go well. Yeah. And it didn't, like, I was like, I thought this was going to be really cool, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
But there's some days that, like, I just have to go home and I can say, hey, you know what? I don't have to worry about it. You know, like there's a very important thing about like, yes, you want to be emotionally invested in your creative work, but don't let it just define you.
Yeah.
You are you. Like whoever you are, you're you. Nothing can change that. Like you're a person, and I believe you're made in the image of God, and you are loved and you have a purpose. And you know, that's something that everybody needs. Everyone needs to know that they're loved and they're seen. And there's people who don't feel that. And a lot of times I found with my own self, like I poured my creative energies to find affirmation. And that never helped me. I always felt worse because stuff wasn't received. And then when stuff was like, man, that was awesome. Like it like boosted my ego. And I was like, whoa, I did great. And then people were like,
very, very up and down.
Like it's like the highs were high and the lows were low.
Yeah.
And so like,
which is awful. I guess anyone who's experienced those kinds of emotions, which I feel like is everyone. It's terrible. The ups and downs and highs versus the lows when you have those mountains and valleys is awful. It's terrible.
And you know, for me, I found that my anchor is Jesus. Knowing that he loves me and that he cares for me and that he died for my sins. And that I'm free from my sins. I'm not, you know, my past self. I am a new creation. And because of that, I'm a child of God. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And so I have freedom. And I have that freedom to know that I'm a loved son, you know, adopted son of God, you know, bought by Jesus Christ's sacrifice on the cross. And so I guess real preachy, if you're like not somebody who's like churchy and you're listening to this podcast, sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. But I'm not trying to be super preachy, but I'm just trying to be me, and that's who I am. Yeah. And so...
Well, and that comes through in a lot of your creative outlets, you know, and it's one of those things that as Christians, that should, right? It should come through in your actions every single second, not in necessarily, you know, the words you say so much as how you say the different words that you say, and your creative outlets and those kinds of things should show that light way more than anything else. And you know, that's something that I commend you on for sure, because it absolutely does. You know, we've got a mutual friend, Sloan, who I was roommates with my freshman year of college, and we had a blast and a half.
Yes.
And he's in Texas right now.
Yes.
Doing his thing for his ministry as well.
Yeah.
And you know, you guys both took very, very different paths. But in the conversation that we're having, they're both very creative paths as well. And I cannot stress it enough that how different that individual experience is in creativity. Yeah. And so that's so important. You know, he's wanting to use it more in a leadership sense, which anybody who's been in a leadership role knows how important creativity is in that.
Absolutely. Sure. And I've known Sloan for a few years, and he's been a great friend, a great encouragement to me.
Absolutely.
And you know, he's helped empower me as a creative and as a leader. Like, he's like, what do you think of this? Like, he's coming to me in a sense, and you know, in the same turn, I've come to him. Yeah. And
Sloan and I, we through that experience, Sloan and I have known each other since like kindergarten, I think. Yeah. And so we haven't always gone to school together, and we haven't always been in touch and close, but we reconnected our senior year of high school, and ever since then, like, he and I both have done the very similar thing, bounced ideas off of each other. Sloan's just one of those guys that's very encouraging and is very open-minded and all that stuff. And I know for a fact that if you've made it this far, you're going to have a special treat in the comment section of this video, because boy, let me tell you, we were it was me, you,
and Jacob. Oh man.
And boy, we got some Sloan memes, and they're gonna be here soon, y'all. I gotta find them. They're in my computer. Oh, he is gonna be so mad, Caleb. I'm so here for this. You guys just check the description for some links. Check the comments. It's gonna be great. I cannot wait. He is so funny, but he is such a great guy and such a good friend.
He is.
And from a creative standpoint, you know, he mascot for a while, and you know, he's got his own creative outlet too, and he's the first person to encourage someone else in their creative thing. And you know, that's kind of the last main point for this last few minutes is how important that piece of it is. The encouragement piece amongst creatives.
Yeah.
I use that term very loosely because I feel that everybody's a creative.
Yeah.
Some people just focus on it more than others. So has that for you, Caleb, like impacted the way that you create, like the encouragement of others and kind of like a commentary on that?
Yeah. I've found that like a lot of my like big ideas that like are seemingly crazy because they've never been done before, because you're never going to find something new under the sun. But it's something I haven't done before.
Right.
I remember the first time I really incorporated this like creative idea of doing a video into a song. It took me a couple months to really kind of get the people behind it to say, yes, this is a great idea. And we put it together, and I had people who were just yes people. I put it together, and there were times that they pulled me aside and they said, think this, think that, like, try this, try that, maybe don't do this. All right, I like what you have. I like what we got here. Now you go do what you're thinking with this.
Yeah.
And I worked really hard on that, and it was like the first time that I really like put together like music and video. And stuff. As we did like a video kind of going into a song for church, and so I went and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go pull up GarageBand and like I'm gonna build some beats to like go into the song so it is perfect.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting there, like, I worked on it till about like 3 a.m. Like I was doing the guitar parts in my living room. It was not an electric guitar plugged in, so no one could hear anything. So it was like putting stuff together, building stuff, finding the right builds, building beats, and that was hard, and it stretched me so much.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have done it if people had said, "Hey, you need to do that." And they called that out of me, and they encouraged me to do that. And then they've championed my ideas, even when they've been terrible. Like they've said, like, no, they haven't been like, this is the thing we're gonna run with, even though it's absolutely terrible.
Right.
But they're like, this is creative, this is innovative, this could work. Let's run with this.
Yeah. Let's flesh this out.
Yes.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, because over time my content's gotten better.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten experience, because people have come alongside me and said, hey, I think you should try this.
Right.
That's a little harder. I think you can do that. And they push me and they push me and they push me. Sometimes you need to push over the edge.
Yeah.
But sometimes you kind of just need to get like up to the front, before you go like jumping off a diving board.
Right.
And then at some point you just got to jump in like full-fledged and go for it.
And sometimes that takes a push.
Yeah. And then sometimes you got to get in the little like shallow end and work your way to the deep end. And having people kind of goes back to what I said earlier, but everyone needs to be like seen and loved and known and cared about. You need community.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have a community of people around you, like who are your friends, who are like encouraging you, who care about you, who are honest with you, because there are people who are your friends who aren't going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell it to your face if something you want to do is not a great idea. I think of all the people who were on like American Idol growing up who were like,
my God.
and Simon Cowell, you sounded like a cat falling from the Empire State Building.
Yes.
And I was like,
wow.
who said you could sing it? My mom.
Yeah.
Whoa, man. Your mom's supposed to be honest. Like, so be honest with people.
Well, and it's important to make the distinction, kind of like what we did earlier with the safety thing. Encouragement does not always mean like telling you that you're good at everything. Like encouragement means that you are open and honest with people and that you encourage them to be better, like to get better. Not that, yes, honey, you're amazing, go on The Voice. Like that's not...
But you want to redirect people if you see a spark for something.
Yeah.
Like if you see a spark for leadership or a spark for creativity, you want to redirect that.
Yeah. That's encouraging.
I always try to redirect people to like a safer outlet.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's see what you can do. And then like it's almost like, hey, you want to do this? Come with me, watch me.
Yeah.
All right, now do this with me. Now let me watch you, and I hover over you, and then I keep watching you do it. Then eventually, like my watching you kind of comes back off, and it's you doing it.
Yeah.
That's I think this like just discipleship of like bringing people up and really like pouring into them. And you want to make people better. Yeah. And
and everybody responds to those kinds of things differently. And so it's important to find like you said, a group of people, not just one person necessarily, a multitude of people that will do that for you. It may start with one person, but do your best to reach out and find multiple people that will do that for you, because they will all do it differently. Like for me, my encouragement is very much like pushing people into their uncomfortable zone.
Yes,
it's pushing people into doing things they may not feel like they can do. It's that kind of thing is my methodology. It's very much of hey, you can do this, you just don't know you can. So let's do it anyway.
And a lot of times, like, you don't know how to do something, and you gotta learn on the way. Yeah. And I'm not one of those people who can sit down and like read notes steady and then go take a test. I'm the kind of person who takes in then does.
Yeah.
And so part of my taking in is you've got to push me out the nest.
Yeah.
And because I'm one of those people that's like, I'm content to just sit here and learn and learn and learn and learn, and then people just, boy, you can't just sit here and learn. You got to go.
You got to go take the test.
You got to go take the test. You got to go show what you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to like find people who are going to champion you, who care about you, who can speak into you, and can encourage you. Yeah. I wouldn't be anywhere today without those people in my life, and it's been different people. It's been people my age, been my peers. It's also been people older than me. And then sometimes it's been like people younger than me a few years. You just go, man, I really like this. Like this was like a game changer for me.
Yeah. And to that point, we were both, in leadership, throughout our life, and leadership is one of those things that transcends like position, right? And so when you think of encouraging people, creatively, it can be anything from a direct thing like that, but you have to understand too that even in your space where you are, there are people that look to you for encouragement that may have never spoken to you.
Oh yeah.
And so, we get that a lot with celebrities, obviously. People think about it all the time, but you don't think that people look at you that way already. And so, from a creative aspect, remember that the stuff that you're creating, whether it has a profound impact on millions and millions of people, or it has a profound impact just in your actions on the creative process, even on that one person that is watching you do it. And that's something that is just so cool to me.
One thing that I always try to own and champion and live by is, how can I make people's day better?
Right.
When I leave them, every time I hang out with somebody, I want to be conscious of, like, you know what? Everyone has bad days.
Yeah.
Honestly, probably more, in comparison to your bad days. Some days, people you walk life with, they may have worse things happen.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that, like, I carry my emotions on my sleeves. Like, if I'm having a bad day,
everyone knows it.
You're going to know. Yeah. And it's not like I'm trying to, like, share it and show it.
It's how it is.
Yeah. And so you have to learn how to process that, but in the same time, like, how do you leave people better off than when you found them? Like, how do you encourage people? How do you speak life into people? Yeah. And sometimes it's just listening. Yeah. And sometimes that's saying, hey, you are such a kind person. I really, I think the way that you encourage people and the way that you speak life to people is so valuable, and you've encouraged me. And I found when I share that what someone's done has meant something to me in a very positive light, that encourages them.
Absolutely.
Because they're like, whoa, I didn't know that. And I think this is like everyone's insecurity right here, is we have this fear that we're like, oh, I am me. And you think of yourself in like this low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And then you do something and someone's kind of like looking at you and you're like, oh, they're looking down on me. I can't believe it. Yeah. And then what's really happening is they're looking up at you. Yeah. And you don't realize that because you're looking up at them.
Yeah.
And then you like realize that and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like,
it's such a cool, like,
we're just people.
Boom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's so, I knocked over my water. It's a bottle, so I didn't spill anything over.
It's all over my carpet now, and I'm getting evicted. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Appreciate bottled water. And so I think just speaking life to people, and how can you make people's days better? Like, you don't have to go out of your way and you're like, I'm gonna buy everyone lunch at Waffle House.
Yeah.
No. First off, you don't get a Waffle House till after 10 o'clock at night.
No.
That's a rule of thumb.
No. That's like the state law.
Yeah. I don't know what the law is in any other states, but like that's what I abide by.
Here in Arkansas, it is illegal to eat at Waffle House until after 10 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. Fact. And the times that I have broken that law, it's been terrible.
Yeah. Like, see, that's why the law is there.
Yeah, it's there. And some people are like, no, you should go to Waffle House. No.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It doesn't have to be. First of all, there has to be no money involved whatsoever.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be some big grand act.
Yeah.
It's the small things. It's the detail things that make the difference.
Yeah.
So, Caleb, we are approaching on our hour.
Approaching the hour.
And so, man, what we have done, and this is how we end the show, we take the topic, which for us is creativity. We talked a little bit about leadership, about the creative process, about exploring that stuff. If you could give one like solid piece of advice over the next 60 to 120 seconds, what would that be to the people listening?
If you're gonna take advice from a 20-something-year-old, don't hold on to everything so tightly.
Yeah.
Genuinely care about people, and seek to make the world a better place. Be kind. Let others be nice to you. Let people in. And don't be afraid to try something new creatively. Don't be afraid to try arts. Don't be afraid to write a song. Don't be afraid to make a short film. Don't be afraid to start a podcast or a plug.
Love the shout out.
Yes,
plug. Go check out my episode titled Plug. It was the first episode of Mine Cheese. Go for it.
Yes. And don't be afraid to try something new, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. Yeah. And just enjoy the journey. That's some advice that one of my mentors told me. He's like, enjoy the journey. Like, life is a journey. Like if you go living focused on the next thing, you're never going to enjoy the now. Yeah. And so I have like this picture in my office. It says today. It's in this little frame to remind me to focus on today. Like live in today. Live as a Christian. We're called to live for eternity, to live for things that last. But this phrase that my mentor said is live for eternity by living in today. And so that's been so profound for me. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, Caleb, I appreciate you being here, man, very, very much. That has been episode 4 of The Vaughn Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, share this on whatever social media platform you choose to do that. Leave a 5-star rating. I still haven't garnered the intro, but I probably never will. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.